Hello, my name is Bella and I'm one of the Education Liaison Officers here at the University of Hertfordshire. Today I'll be taking you through what Disabled Students Allowance, or DSAs as we know them shorthand, is, how to know if you are eligible, and I'll also cover what the process is like, as I received DSA when I was at university. DSAs are available at universities England-wide, but this talk will be referring to my own experiences of DSA whilst I was studying at Herts, so you'll need to double check what the process is like at other universities by contacting their student wellbeing team. So how did I get a DSA? Well, when I was close to handing in my final year project, I started getting heart palpitations. I had these investigated by a cardiologist and they found that there was nothing wrong with my heart. In fact, my palpitations were a physical manifestation of my anxiety, which occurred when my stress levels were high. I got officially diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder over that summer. Looking back at my life at university before receiving DSAs, I remember being very worried and panicky, to the point where I was so worried about my performance I would study for 17 hours a day straight. I obviously do not recommend this, and looking back I had no reason to worry, but at the time it was difficult for me to manage my anxiety, particularly as I didn't even know it was there. After my diagnosis, I contacted the student wellbeing team to see if there was any additional support that I could get, and lo and behold, I was introduced to DSA. I fully recommend that you apply for DSA in the summer before your first year of university, so everything is set up for you and you have all your support in place for when you start. Don't leave it to your fourth year of study like I did. Once I started receiving support through DSA, life got so much easier. I was finally receiving the support I needed, which allowed me to not only excel in my studies, achieving a distinction for my masters, but also develop as an individual and learn how to manage my anxiety. So who can access DSAs? Well, I will cover more on the next slide as to what exact conditions are covered. It's available for students with a disability, whether that be mental health condition, neurodiversity, a chronic illness, and/or learning difference. It is available to students studying either undergraduate or postgraduate courses, and this also includes distant learning. The student needs to be studying full-time or part-time, with the course itself lasting at least 1 year, and the student also needs to have home student status. DSAs are a form of non-repayable support, so you get to keep what you receive. These are available to anyone with a physical disability, a long-standing medical condition or illness such as coronary heart disease, diabetes, epilepsy, etc., a serious sensory impairment such as hearing or visual that cannot be corrected by glasses, a social communication impairment such as Asperger's syndrome or other autistic spectrum disorders, a mental health condition such as anxiety, depression, etc., or specific learning difficulty such as dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADD, ADHD, etc., or combination thereof that impacts their ability to study. Up on the screen right now are the disability codes from UCAS. As you can see, DSAs cover a wide spectrum of health conditions, and this list is not exhaustive. When we hear the word disability, we generally make a lot of assumptions, which boil down to what we believe is a disability. When I started university, I never classed my anxiety as a disability, and for this reason, I never thought I was eligible for extra support or for a DSA. Thankfully, I was told by the student wellbeing team here at Herts that I was in fact eligible, so I ended up receiving loads of different support, which I will talk about later. I wish I could say that my particular case was a one-off, but sadly this is not the case. The BBC reported that over half of students who are eligible for a DSA didn't apply for it, either because, like me, they thought they weren't eligible, or because they simply didn't know it was there. This confusion and lack of awareness meant that 70% of eligible students missed out on financial support at university. So after this presentation, please, from the bottom of my heart, double check and see what you could be eligible for, whether that is a DSA or a scholarship. You don't lose anything by checking. So how can you apply? Well, the first option is that you can apply at the same time as when you apply for student finance. There will be a tick box that goes something along the lines of that you suffer from a disability, impairment, or health condition. You must tick this box. Once you have, a DSA section will appear in your student finance application. Fill this in and complete the rest of your student finance application as normal. Alternatively, If you are not receiving or applying for student finance, you can get the DSA long form from the .gov website. Simply fill it in and send it back to the address on the front of the form. The third option is how I applied for my DSA. This option is correct for students looking to study at the University of Hertfordshire, but I cannot confirm that other universities offer the same service. You would need to contact their student wellbeing team to find out. The third option means that the student wellbeing team here at Herts can help you with the application process. All you need to do is confirm your place on UCAS and you can contact them. You don't need to wait until you're registered with us. As soon as you click the button on UCAS saying that you are coming to Herts, you can contact us and we can help. This route meant that I had support from the wellbeing team during my application. They helped me through it, and I even had a point of contact who kept me updated with what I needed to do next. Because I did this over the summer, it meant that all my support was ready and waiting for me when I came back in September. For your DSA application, you will need the same information you will need for your student finance application. So you will need your passport, national insurance number, and your bank details. You will, however, also need to provide evidence of your condition. This can be in the form of a letter from your doctor or consultant which confirms your impairment or health condition, or it can be a diagnostic assessment of your learning difficulty from a psychologist or specialist teacher. Unfortunately, general school and college Form 8s would not be accepted. Your diagnosis or confirmation letter must be from a trained healthcare professional or specialist teacher. If you are concerned about getting an official assessment or diagnosis before you start at Herts, we do have the services here on campus to help you, which I will cover later on. So what happens after you have applied? Well, depending on which route you applied through, you will be contacted by either Student Finance, the DSA company, or the Student Wellbeing team with the next steps, which may just be providing some more information. Once these first steps are completed, you can then organise or will be booked for your DSA Study Needs Assessment. Now, when I say assessment, everyone thinks of this horrible Dragon's Den situation where they'll ask loads of horrible questions, but in reality, it is nothing like that. You're just having a chat with the assessor. Their job is just to find out how the DSA and your university can help you best. They will ask you about your condition, how it affects you, and then discuss with you what you find challenging and what support is on offer. Here at Herts, the DSA assessment is actually held on campus within our student wellbeing offices. Again, if you're looking at other universities, double check with their student wellbeing team to see if they hold the DSA assessment on campus. After your DSA assessment, the assessor will write up your study needs agreement. It will state what your condition is, how it impacts you in particular, and what the DSA and your university will provide in terms of support. It is a binding contract, so neither the DSA or your university can break it. It will be sent to you to look over and sign. Once signed, you will send it back to the assessor. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly what you could receive, as each DSA is done on a case-by-case basis. DSAs are not impacted by your household income, like student finances. It is completely down to your own individual needs. Some examples of DSA support include specialist equipment, for example, a computer or laptop if you need one because of your disability. I chose a laptop, but my partner, who suffers from dyslexia and dyspraxia, chose a computer. My partner also received something called a Dragon headset. It was effectively a PlayStation headset that he plugged into his computer, he spoke into it, and it auto-dictated what he said into the Word document on his computer. You could receive a mentor. My initial contact within the student wellbeing team became my mentor. It was nice to have someone outside of family and friends and my course to speak to. Your mentor will be a trained professional, so they will be able to offer great advice. Other examples of support include non-medical helpers, such as note takers or readers. You could receive extra travel allowances, and there are many other disability-related allowances that can be awarded too. An example of this is that the DSA awarded me an allowance to help with my printer and ink. All I needed to do was send them the receipts and I got reimbursed. If at this point you don't think you're eligible for a DSA, then that is completely fine. You can still access our student wellbeing services. You don't need to get a diagnosis or a letter from a doctor to get an appointment with our student wellbeing team or counsellors. In fact, the student wellbeing advisor that I spoke to, who helped me create this presentation, recommends that you still go and see the student wellbeing team so they can see what services are available to you. If you are unsure of whether you are eligible for a DSA or unsure if your health condition meets the requirements for a DSA, speak to our student wellbeing team. I have linked their contact details below for you. Before we finish up, I just wanted to make you aware of the additional services we provide. Our student wellbeing team, on top of the services they provide, also have the ability to refer you for services. They can also organise for you to meet external specialist diagnostic assessors to help with the diagnosis for a specific learning difficulty, such as dyslexia or dyspraxia. For this particular service though, you will need to be a registered student at Hearts. So once you've completed your registration at the beginning of the academic year and have your student ID, you can then access this service. We are also lucky enough that we have our own general practitioner or GP on site in our medical centre. You can register with them so that your GP is on campus, so you don't need to go home every time you need to speak to a GP. Our GP can help you with your diagnosis letter, which can then be handed to the student wellbeing team upstairs. However, you would need to be registered with them. To register is super simple. Just select the link below, select whether you are an EU international student or a UK student, fill in the online form and submit it. Super easy. Well, that brings us to the end of the DSA presentation. I hope it has given you the information you need to feel more confident about the support available. If you would like more information about DSAs, do check out the .gov webpage and the UCAS webpage, which I have linked below. If you would like to chat to our staff or students from a wide variety of courses, just follow the Unibuddy link below. That's all from me. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.